Hello everyone and welcome back to our virtual Mishnah Berurah share. We are holding a Mishnah Berurah Chelik Gimel, and Amir Hashem today we will be learning Daf Yud Aleph, Amud Aleph, beginning a brand new Siman, Siman Reish Mem Zayin. Our learning today should be a schos refuah shalema for Bracha Tova ben Leah, Bas Leah. It should also be a schos for Achenu Kol Beis Yisroel, Hanasunim Bat Sarah Bat Shivya, Ha'imdim Bein Bayam Ubein Bayabasha, Hamalkaim Yirachem Aleihim V'Yitziam Yitzar L'Rvacha Me'afel L'Eiro Mishibur L'Geula, Hashta B'Agala U'Vizman Kariv V'Nemar Amen. So let's start a new siman over here, Siman Reish Mem Zayin. Din Einom Yehudim Hamevim Ksavim B'Shabbos. The halachas that pertain to Einom Yehudim, non-Jews, that are delivering letters for Yisraelim on Shabbos, Uboy Vav Seifim, and here we have 6 Seifim. Now, the Mechaber is going to begin Sif Aleph over here with a halacha that should come as no surprise to us at all. This is a halacha that seems to have no chiddush for us. It's a halacha that we've already covered. Let's remember something that we learned in Siman Reish Mem Daled Sif Aleph. In Siman Reish Mem Daled, we spoke about the halachas of a kablan. What's a kablan? So the classic case that I kept on using when we were discussing kablanus was a fellow who has a broken dining room table. He wants to hire an Eino Yehudi carpenter to repair his table for him. We said he's allowed to hire him as a kablan. He could contract the job out to the Eino Yehudi carpenter as a kablan, and if he does so, he doesn't have to be concerned if the kablan works on Shabbos. What's the kablan arrangement? The kablan arrangement is you make up with the carpenter how much will it cost for the job. He'll look at the table, he'll say, okay, to do this repair is $500. So he's being paid by the job, he's not being paid by time. He's being paid by the job. In that case, we said, the Eino Yehudi could come to your house, he could pick up your dining room table. He could pick up your dining room table even a half an hour before Shabbos, when there's no way that he could complete this job before Shabbos. He could pick up the table a half an hour before Shabbos, take it back to his workshop. He'll do the job when he wants. He could do it on Shabbos. Not my issue. Since he's a kablan, first of all, we don't see him as being my shliach. I am outsourcing the job of repairing the table to him. Now it's his work. It's not my work. Also, you made up a price. He knows he's getting $500 for the job. If he decides to work on Shabbos, we say Nachri Adaita de Nafsheka of it. He decided to work on Shabbos because he wants to knock out the job as quickly as he can so that he can take on another job. So he's not my shliach. I didn't ask him to work on Shabbos. I didn't require him to work on Shabbos. If he works on Shabbos, Nachri Adaita de Nafsheka avad. So there's no problem here whatsoever. What's the key to the heter? The key is that he's a kablan. He's being paid by the job. He's not being paid for his time. The Mechaber opens up Siman Reish Mem Zayin really with what would seem to be a classical case of kablanus. What's happening over here? A Yisroel, Ruvain, has a letter. He wants to send the letter off to his friend who lives in the next city. He wants to give the letter to an Eino Yehudi to deliver it to his friend. What's the Eino Yehudi going to do? He's going to pick up the letter in Ruvain's house. He's going to take it out of Ruvain's house. Okay, so far we're dealing with Hoitzah. He's going to travel through Rishos Harabim, Hoitzah. He's going to bring it to somebody else's house, bring it in. He's doing the malacha of Hoitzah. Now, the shaila is, okay, I want to go ahead and I want to give him the letter right before Shabbos. So I'm hiring an Eino Yehudi to do malacha, and I want to hire him right before Shabbos. Am I allowed to do this? Well, the first simple answer is, if you hire him as a kablan, it's okay. What does it mean to hire him as a kablan? You're going to tell him, look, I need this letter delivered to Pliny who lives in the next city. How much will you charge me for the job? $25 for the job. Okay, no problem. You hired him as a kablan. Now he could come pick up the letter. He has to pick up the letter before Shabbos, and you can't tell him that he must deliver it on Shabbos. He picks up the letter from you before Shabbos, and now he takes it. He'll do with it what he wants. He'll do it on Shabbos, no problem. There's no difference between this and the case of the furniture repairman. In both instances, you're hiring an Eino Yehudi to do malacha for you. You want to hire him right before Shabbos. If you contract him as a kablan, then this is mutter. Now, again, you can't tell him that he has to deliver it on Shabbos. You can't tell him that it must be delivered by immediately after Shabbos. In no way can you require him to work on Shabbos. But as long as you are katzatz loidamim, as long as you set a price for the job and you pay him for the job, this is kablanus, and it is 100% mutter. So let's see what the Mechaber says here. Sif Aleph. Shalech adam igeres biyad ein Yehudi. A Yisroel is allowed to send a letter in the hands of an Eino Yehudi. Va'afilu be'erev Shabbos im chashecha. He's allowed to do this on Erev Shabbos right before sunset, as long as the sun is still shining, as long as it's before Shkia, he's allowed to do this. V'hu shekatatz loidamim. But the requirement is he has to hire him as a kablan. He has to set a price for the job. Ubelvad shelo yoma lo sheyelech b'Shabbos. But he's not allowed to tell him that he must do the delivery on Shabbos. If he tells him that he must do the delivery on Shabbos, that's Aser Amir La'akum 101. You're instructing the Eino Yehudi to do malacha for you on Shabbos. But when you hire him as a kablan and you don't require him to do the work on Shabbos, it's mutter, the same way it would be mutter by a furniture repair. So far, we haven't seen any chiddush. The chiddush is what the Mechaber is going to say now. So first of all, just a little bit of background. Back in the day, when they had to deliver a letter, the way it was done was, Ruvain lives in a city. He would get an Eino Yehudi to take the letter, bring the letter to the city where his friend lives. But this delivery person would not necessarily deliver the letter to Ruvain's friend. What he would do is he would bring the letter to the city that Ruvain's friend lives in, and he would give it to the postal agent in that city. Then the postal agent would make sure that the letter gets delivered to Ruvain's friend. So in this scenario, it was not the Eino Yehudi's job to make the delivery directly to Ruvain's friend. It's his job to deliver it to the postal agent. So that's just one thing that we have to be clear on. We have to be clear what the scenario is here. Now, let's step back a minute and let's go back to our furniture repair. You want to hire a furniture repairman to repair your dining room table, and you want to hire him as a kablan, that's fine. And he's allowed, he could do the work on Shabbos, and you have no concern of Amir La'akum. But let's say you're not hiring a kablan. Let's say you're hiring somebody that you're going to pay by the hour. You're hiring a schir yoim. If you're paying somebody by the hour, he cannot do the work on Shabbos. If he does the work on Shabbos, now he's considered to be an employee who's your shliach, who's doing your work, and that would be awesome d'Rabbanan als Amir La'akum. Okay, so could you hire Tony, the furniture repairman, a half an hour before Shabbos to repair your dining room table, and you're going to pay him by the hour? He tells you this is a 3-4 hour job, and he's charging $100 an hour. Are you allowed to do that? No, that's Amir La'akum. Okay, could you hire him Friday morning? So the halacha is very simple. The halacha is you have to contract him at a time when he has enough time to reasonably complete the job before Shabbos. So if the furniture repairman comes to your house at Shabbos, he checks out your dining room table and he gives you an estimate. And he tells you, oh, this is a 3-hour job. I charge $100 an hour, so it should be approximately $300. But you're paying him by the hour. You're not paying him for the job. Could you hire him on Thursday morning? Absolutely. Once you hire him on Thursday morning, do you have to call him up on Friday if you didn't get the table back? Do you have to call him up on Friday and say, listen, don't fix my table on Saturday, it's my Shabbos? No, You don't have to. Why? Because you contracted him on Thursday morning. He had plenty of time to complete the repair. And again, you didn't instruct him to do it on Shabbos. You didn't ask him to do it on Shabbos. You didn't set any expectations that he's going to do it on Shabbos. You commissioned him to do the job, and he has plenty of time during the week to get the job done. So you don't have to be concerned that he might do the job on Shabbos. Could you hire him a half an hour before Shabbos? No. Because if you commission him a half an hour before Shabbos, you know he doesn't have time to do the job on Shabbos, before Shabbos. And, if you tell him I don't need it for the next 2 weeks, then maybe you can. We'll have to see that. But if the expectation is that you're getting the table back soon after Shabbos, and you hired him a half an hour before Shabbos, there's no weekday time for him to do the job. So you're not allowed to do that. So what's the rule? The rule generally is, if you want to commission an Eino Yehudi to do malacha for you, and you're not commissioning him as a kablan, you're commissioning him as a regular sker yoim, you have to commission him so that he has enough time before Shabbos to complete the job. If you hire him with enough time before Shabbos to complete the job, you're okay. Now, let's apply that to a letter carrier. So, we just saw here the halacha. The opening halacha, again, we said is no chiddush. The Mechaber said, you hired the letter carrier right before Shabbos, but you hired him as a kablan. If you hired him as a kablan, so long as you don't instruct him to deliver the letter on Shabbos, you have no concern of Amir Lakum. There's no chiddush here. Let's say you did not hire the letter carrier as a kablan. Let's say you're hiring the letter carrier as a regular schir yoim. Let's say the letter carrier takes the letter and he says, okay, you're going to pay me by the hour. We'll see how long it takes. You're going to pay me by the hour. All right. By the furniture repairman, we said the halacha is you have to commission him so that there's enough time for him to reasonably be able to complete the project before Shabbos. So if you apply that to the letter carrier, you would think that the halacha should be open and shut. The halacha should be you're asking the letter carrier to deliver the letter from Borough Park to Monsey. 2 hours is more than enough time to get from Borough Park to Monsey. So if I hire him 4 hours before Shabbos, even if I hire him as a schir yoim, you would think that it should be mutter, and it should be a very simple shaila. The Mechaber is going to tell us that when it comes to a letter carrier, the halacha is different. When it comes to a letter carrier, there's a stringency, a special stringency that we apply to a letter carrier. Let's see what the Mechaber says. V'im katzatz. Let's say you did not hire the letter carrier as a kablan. V'im katzatz means you did not set a price for the job. So he's not a kablan. You're not hiring him b'kablanis. Says the Mechaber, now it depends. If you don't have a permanent beit dayar, what's a beit dayar? Says here in the parentheses, Pirish, ish yadua, a well-known person, an appointed official, shekol ksav love yuval, that every letter is brought to him, v'hu mishalchay l'misha shaluach love, and he delivers it to the end recipient. What's this? A postal agent. So the Mechaber says like this, Eloi kavia beit dayar b'masa, if there is no established permanent postal agent in the recipient's city, then aser l'shlayach, you're not allowed to send the letter with the Eino Yehudi letter carrier, afilu miyoim rishon, even on Sunday. So you hear what we're saying over here? You want to give the letter to the Eino Yehudi letter carrier. There's a reasonable assumption that if he has 2-3 hours, he should be able to take the letter, go to the other city, and be done with it. So, l'chera, that's mutter, even by a schir yoim. There's plenty of time for him to finish the task. Says the Mechaber, by a letter carrier, there's an added wrinkle. What is this letter carrier doing with the letter? He's bringing it to the other city, and he's supposed to bring it to the postal agent. Says the Mechaber, if the destination city has a kavua beidayar, if it has a postal agent who's always there, from 9 o'clock in the morning to 6 o'clock at night, the post office is opened, the beidayar is open, and the postal agent is there, then you could hire him with enough time to take the letter and go to the city. Why? Because you're giving him enough time to perform the malacha that you need him to perform. The malacha is over once he gets into the destination city. We're assuming that it's a city, it has a wall around it, it's inside an Erev. So once he brings it to the destination city, l'chayra, his job should be over. But, says the Mechaber, what if there isn't a kavua beidayar? What if there isn't a permanent postal agent in the city? Then, says the Mechaber, you're not even allowed to give the letter to the letter carrier on Sunday. Forget that there's enough time for him to accomplish the task. Even Sunday, you can't give him the letter. And we'll see why in the Mishnah Berurah. But if there is a permanent postal agent in the destination city, then mishalchan afilu be'erev Shabbos. Then you could give the letter to the Eino Yehudi letter carrier, even on Erev Shabbos, with the typical proviso. So long as there's enough time in the day left before Shkia, as long as there's enough time for him to get into the destination city, so fine. So you gave him enough time to do the malacha. If you gave him enough time to do the malacha, you're okay. So now, before we jump into the Mishnah Berurah is going to do a beautiful job of explaining this. Let's just get, again, the case over here. You're giving a letter to an Eino Yehudi letter carrier to transport the letter to another city. That's going to entail the malacha of Hoitzah. You want to hire him as a kablan? Fine. You're going to pay him $25 for the job to deliver the letter. So long as he picks up the letter from you before Shkia, and he gets it out of your house before Shkia, you don't care what he does. He could do whatever he wants on Shabbos, I'm not concerned. He's a kablan. That's kablanus 101. Kablanus is mutter, there's no amir la'akum, he's not my shliach, I'm paying him by the job, whatever he does, but what if you're not hiring him as a kablan? If you're not hiring him as a kablan, and you're paying for his time, then, says the Mechaber, there's a new variable. The variable is there a permanent postal agent in the destination city or not? If there's a permanent postal agent in the destination city, then the standard rule of a schir yom applies. So long as you commission the Eino Yehudi letter carrier with enough time that he could reasonably take your letter, bring it to the destination city, and hand it off to the postal agent, you're okay. So if it's reasonable to assume that he needs 2 hours to do that, and you commission him 2 hours before Shabbos, you're okay. You gave him enough time, you hired him, you have no problem. But what if there's no permanent postal agent in the destination city? If there's no permanent postal agent in the destination city, now we have a chumrah that we don't have anywhere else. Now we have a chumrah, and it only applies to a letter. It doesn't apply to a package. It only applies to a letter. Here we have a chumrah. Now, if there's no permanent postal agent in the destination city, then you cannot hand off a letter to an Eino Yehudi letter carrier, even on Sunday, to go ahead and deliver it to another city. Why? Let's see the Mishnah Berurah. Says the Mishnah Berurah is cut off. Igeres. So first, the Mishnah Berurah points out what I told you at the beginning, which is that the opening halacha over here in Reish Mem Zayin seems to have no chiddush at all. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Hu adin b'cham halachos. This rule of a kablan applies to all halacha. When you commission an Eino Yehudi to do malacha for you, and he doesn't have enough time to complete that malacha before Shabbos, the only way that's mutter is if you hire him b'kablanis, if you pay him for the job. And that's mutter the azadaite din avshei kavod, because then we say that if he's doing malacha on Shabbos, he's a kablan, And Nachri Adaita then Avshei Kovid. The work that he's doing at Shabbos is his business. It has no connection to me. V'loi b'shvil Yisroel. We don't look at him as being the shliach of the Yisroel. The Yisroel outsourced his job to the Eino Yehudi Kablan. The Eino Yehudi Kablan who's getting paid for the job wants to do it on Shabbos. That's his business. And this is spelled out very clearly. We learned it already really in Reish Mem Daled, but it's spelled out very clearly in Reish Nun Beis Sif Beis, where we have the halacha, if you want to give hides to an Eino Yehudi tanner to tan them, you could give them to him a half an hour before Shkia, if you're paying him by the job. If he's a kablan, you could hand it off to him a half an hour before Shkia, say, call me when it's ready, and I'll pick it up. I'll pay you $200 for the job. That's perfectly mutter. So, no chiddush over here. Ela nokat igeres. The reason the Mechaber is telling me this halacha by a letter is lashmi'inon, to teach us the iloi kotzatz, that if you don't set a price for the job, then v'loi kavia beidoyar b'masa, then if there's no permanent postal agent in the destination city, osir. Then it's osir to give the letter to the letter carrier before Shabbos, kidamasik, like the Mechaber concludes. V'atam, and the reason for this stringency is, k'moshe kasavdu l'kamei, like we're going to say a little bit later on, it's going to be spelled out in the Mishnah Berurah. Aval shar, kelim v'chafetzim, but you want to send other packages in the hands of a delivery person, kelim or other items, oimois or money, im sholach biad Eino Yehudi be'erev Shabbos. If you want to send packages with an Eino Yehudi before Shabbos, hadin kamoi b'chol malachos. That would have the same halacha as commissioning an Eino Yehudi to do any other kind of malacha for you on erev Shabbos. What's that halacha? Ulekach, therefore, afilu im loy katzatz, even if you did not hire the Eino Yehudi as a kablan, if you give him enough time to arrive at the recipient before Shabbos, mutter. The same way it always is. You're allowed to commission an Eino Yehudi to do malacha for you before Shabbos, so long as he has enough time to complete the malacha before Shabbos. So you want to send a toaster oven through a Eino Yehudi delivery person before Shabbos, and he's going to perform the malacha of Hoitzah, as long as he has enough time to deliver it before Shabbos, you're okay. By a toaster oven, but not by a letter. By a letter, there has to be a permanent postal agent in the destination city. And if not, you're not allowed to send it. Why? You're sending a toaster oven. We're not concerned that something that should have taken 2 hours is going to end up taking 6 hours. If you're sending a toaster oven to your friend in another city, you give him the recipient's address. We trust that he's going to arrive at the recipient's house in a reasonable amount of time. If you gave him a reasonable amount of time before Shabbos to complete the job, you're okay. But not by a letter. Now, the Mechaber said, Im chashecha, a letter carrier, if you're hiring him as a kablan, you could give him the letter im chashecha. Now, the words im chashecha literally mean with nightfall, with the darkness. What does that mean? Says the Mishnah Berurah, Hainu ba'oid shemesh zareach. It means before Shkia. It means so long as the sun is still shining. So it has to be before Shkia. V'gam tzar sheyetze Eino Yehudi mipesach beisei shel Yisroel kaidem haShabbos. And also, even if you're hiring this letter carrier as a kablan, you have to commission him before Shkia, and he has to take the letter and leave your house before Shkia. If he leaves your house after Shkia, now you have a problem. Now it looks like you contracted him on Shabbos. Ois Katan Gimel, and of course the Mechaber said, Ubelvad, even by the kablan, you're not allowed to instruct the kablan to do malacha on Shabbos. You can't give your dining room table to a kablan to repair it and say, I want you to do the work on Saturday so that I could pick it up right after my Shabbos. That you're not allowed to do. That's Aser Amir Alaka 101. Ubelvad. But, Yehudi Amar Mayatzma Sheyelech b'Shabbos, let's say you hire the kablan letter carrier. So you hired him b'kablanas. You didn't require him to work on Shabbos, and as he's walking out the door, he says, yeah, don't worry, your letter's in good hands. I'm going right now, tonight. I'm delivering it tonight. So he lets you know that he's doing the malacha on Shabbos. Les lanba, not my concern. I hired him as a kablan. I handed off the letter to him. Whatever he does now is his business. I outsourced this piece of work. Whatever he does now, since the Yid did not tell him to work on Shabbos, he's delivering it on Shabbos because he wants to knock the job out and he wants to get paid. You're not allowed to instruct him to work on Shabbos. The Mishnah Berurah points out, what's usher is not only to straight out instruct the Eino Yehudi to work on Shabbos. It's also usher to create a situation where it's obvious that you need him to work on Shabbos. You also cannot tell the Eino Yehudi, make sure the letter is delivered by Sunday or Monday, or some such similar scenario, if it's known that it would be impossible for him to accomplish that task and to arrive there, unless he goes on Shabbos. So, if you're handing off the letter to the Eino Yehudi Kablan letter carrier, and you know that it's a 3-day journey, in order for him to arrive at the to the recipient and deliver the letter, you cannot give it to him Friday before Shkia and tell him, make sure that he's there first thing, Monday 6 p.m. It's a 3-day trip. He needs Shabbos, Sunday, and Monday to make the trip. So if you tell him that, you're really, in fact, telling him work on Shabbos, even though you never said those words. You're not allowed to do that either. That would be the equivalent of telling him to work on Shabbos. Now, the Mechaber said, what's the wrinkle over here with the letter carrier? It depends if there's a permanent postal agent in the destination city. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Loi kavia beidoyar. If you don't have a permanent postal agent in the destination city, then you cannot hand off a letter to an Eino Yehudi letter carrier if he's a schir yom, even on Sunday. Now again, I know this is repetitive, but just keep in mind, what's the chiddush over here? Normally, if you hire an Eino Yehudi to do piecework for you, and you're paying him for his time, the halacha is you have to hire him with enough time before Shabbos to complete the malacha before Shabbos. Over here, you're hiring a letter carrier as a schir yom. Now we're no longer talking as a kablan. You're hiring an Eino Yehudi letter carrier as a schir yom. And now we're saying it's not enough to give him a reasonable amount of time before Shabbos to accomplish the malacha. You're not even allowed to give it to him on Sunday if there isn't an established postal agent in the destination city. Why not? Says the Mishnah Berurah. Hainu. She'ena kavua tamin habei dayar ba'oisa ha'ir shenishtaleach sham. If you don't have a postal agent that is always there in the destination city, you don't have a post office, you don't have an office that you go and you hand it over to the postal agent. Ella halech lepamim l'makam acher. The postal agent in the destination city is an iffy situation. Sometimes he's there, sometimes he's not. You never know. Usser, then it's usser. Why? Because the problem is, Deshema lo yimtze'enu ha'eino Yehudi. Maybe what's going to happen is the Eino Yehudi letter carrier is going to arrive in the destination city. He's going to come to the Beit Dayar. He's going to come to the office of the postal agent, and it's going to say closed, out on lunch. We'll be back soon. We'll be back sometime. Now, in order for him to complete the job, he's going to have to go searching for the postal agent. And we don't know when he's going to find him. He might have to search for the postal agent on Shabbos. Now, if he's searching for the postal agent on Shabbos, you know what's going to be happening? He's going to be walking around the city holding a letter that's written in the handwriting and the style of a Yid. Maybe it's written in Hebrew. Maybe it's written in Lashon HaKodesh. And he's walking around with this letter on Shabbos in the destination city, and he's looking for the postal agent. You know why Chazal was so stringent over here? And they were concerned about this in this topic. Since he's holding a letter that's written in a Yisroel's handwriting, v'nikar ma'aseh Yisroel, and anybody who sees the letter realizes this is a Jewish letter, Yomru b'Shabbos nasan lo lahoilech. When they see this Eino Yehudi letter carrier wandering around the destination city with a Jewish letter, they're going to think that a Yid hired this fellow to deliver a letter on Shabbos. They're not going to realize that really this letter was handed off to the Eino Yehudi letter carrier with plenty of time to get it delivered before Shabbos. They see him wandering around with a Jewish letter on Shabbos. Must be that a Yid hired you on Shabbos to deliver this letter. V'imkein nichtav ha'igeret v'imkein. Now, based on this, says the Chofetz Chaim, if that's the concern, so v'imkein, im nichtav ha'igeret b'ksav einam Yehudim, let's say the letter is written in a way that it's not obvious that it's a Jewish letter. It's written in Goyish, it's written in English, and it looks like a secular letter. There's nothing identifying this letter at all as being a Jewish letter. So then, Shari Lahailach Afilu be'Erev Shabbos Ubaloi Katzatz. Then it would be mutter to give the letter to the Eino Yehudi letter carrier, even on Erev Shabbos, even not as a kablan, Kol sheyachal lagia shama ba'od yom l'bayis rishon samach l'chayma. As long as the Eino Yehudi has enough time to arrive in the destination city to the first house inside the city. Because once he gets to the first house inside the city, ostensibly, he's no longer doing the malacha of hitzah. Ostensibly, he's already inside the city, it is no problem. So again, the Mishnah Berurah is saying, you know what the problem over here is? Really, this should be treated as any other instance of hiring a schir yom to do malacha for you on Erev Shabbos. Usually the halacha is, so long as you commission the Eino Yehudi with enough time to accomplish the malacha before Shabbos starts, you're okay. But by a letter carrier, we have a new variable. And that is, the job of the Eino Yehudi letter carrier is not over until he delivers the letter to the Beit Dayar, until he delivers it to the postal agent. But in some cities, it wasn't pashut to find the postal agent. In some cities, the post office was just as frustrating as the U.S. post office is nowadays. It's true that they're open, but they're still frustrating. So back in the day, there were times in cities where you couldn't find the postal agent. So now you're going to have an Eino Yehudi wandering around a city, holding an obviously Jewish letter on Shabbos. That's a problem, because now people are going to look and they're going to say, a Yisroel hired an Eino Yehudi to deliver a letter on Shabbos. And that would be also because of a mir la'akum. Therefore, says the Mishnah Berurah, if it's not obvious that the letter is a Jewish letter, then it's okay. Then it becomes like any other malacha. Just commission him with enough time to perform the malacha before Shabbos. What does that mean? Commission him with enough time to arrive in the destination city before Shabbos, so that the malacha of hitzah is done. Then it becomes like delivering any other package. This is why the Mishnah Berurah told us in Sifkat and Aleph that any other package doesn't have this stringency. A toaster oven doesn't have this issue. If the Eino Yehudi is wandering around the city holding a toaster oven, nobody is going to think, oh, a Yisroel hired him to deliver a toaster oven. They don't know he's doing the job of a Yisroel. It's only by a letter where a letter was recognizable as originating by a Yisroel. Eif Katan Vav, Asa l'shlayach. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Kasav Erev Shabbos, the Erev Shabbos says, V'nireh, Erev Shabbos says, it appears to him, to kol zeh ma'iri kishisholech al yedei ha'eino Yehudi liyad ha'beidaya. This whole concern is only in the scenario that we have described, which is that you're commissioning the Eino Yehudi letter carrier to deliver the letter to the Beit Dayar in the destination city. Aval, however, let's say you want to hire an Eino Yehudi letter carrier to deliver the letter directly to the recipient. You want to cut out the middleman. You want to cut out the Beit Dayar. So you're hiring the Eino Yehudi and you're giving him the recipient's exact address, and you're commissioning him to go to that address and deliver the letter. Then the Erev Shabbos says you don't have a problem. We don't have to be concerned that he's going to show up at the recipient's address, not find the recipient, and go searching for the recipient. That wasn't his job. His job was to deliver it to the recipient's house. He'll get to the recipient's house, he'll put it in the mailbox, or he'll knock on the door, give it to his wife, or he'll slip it under the door. But we don't have to worry that he's going to wander around the city with a Jewish letter. V'shari afilu be'erev Shabbos, then this would be mutter again on Erev Shabbos, u'b'loi kotzatz, and you don't have to hire him as a kablan, kol sheyachal lagia sham b'ayim yom, so long as he has enough time to arrive at the recipient's house before Shabbos. V'chein noita das moreno Rav Rabbi Avram Prague hamuva babach. The Rabbi Avram Prague also wrote like this Erev Shabbos. V'ayin sham sheherich u'masik l'hakel b'zeh, and he's very myrich, and he concludes that you could be makel this way. V'das hatazu magen Avram. It's the opinion of the Taz and the Magen Avram. The gam b'shalech igeres l'chaveri gam kein yesh chashash zeh. The Taz and the Magen Avram both say that there is a concern, even in the case when the Eino Yehudi letter carrier is going to deliver the letter directly to the recipient. However, the Chavetz Chaim says, based on the Rabbeinu Chananel that had just become available in the time of the Chavetz Chaim, it's proven that the Rabbeinu Chananel held like this Erev Shabbos. However, if you gave direct instructions to the letter carrier, look, deliver it to my friend's house and don't worry about finding my friend. Even if he's not there, give it to his wife, give it to his kids. Then everybody would agree that in that case it would be mutter, so long as you gave him enough time to arrive at the recipient's address before Shabbos, and he does not have to be a kablan. In the case where you hired the Eino Yehudi letter carrier not as a kablan, and the destination city does not have a permanent postal agent, then you're not allowed to give the letter to the letter carrier even on Sunday. But, says the Chavetz Chaim, look, if you're sending the letter on a one-day journey, Chavetz Chaim says, let's not get carried away. If you know that you're giving a letter to the letter carrier, and it should only take him one day to arrive at the destination city, and you're giving it to him, you're commissioning him on Monday or on Tuesday. So if you're commissioning him Monday morning, you're giving him Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You're giving him 5 days to accomplish what should take 1 day. So you're going to be worried that he's not going to find the postal agent and it's going to take another 4 days? So the Mishnah Berurah says it would seem that if you know it's a one-day journey, you could hire him on Monday or Tuesday. Because even if you don't find the postal agent in his office or in his house, there's plenty of time for him to find the postal agent. That would seem to be very extreme, and that far the Chavetz Chaim says you don't have to be choishish. If there is a permanent postal agent in the destination city, this means that the postal agent is always there. Postmaster. Very cute. The Chavetz Chaim says this would include what we call nowadays the post office, the postmaster. Typically, the big cities have postmasters. He's opened up during fixed hours to accept letters and to send them out to the intended recipients of the letters. So if there is a postmaster in the city, you don't have to worry. Ice cut and test, then it's like any other malacha. It's like the furniture repairman. You have to commission him with enough time to accomplish the malacha before Shabbos, which means you have to give him enough time to arrive at the first house in the destination city, hasamach l'chayma, the house closest to the chayma, to the wall of the destination city, lo'ir shenishtalech sham, to the city that he's going to. Kaloyma l'bayis rishon mibifnim. You have to give him enough time to arrive inside the wall of the destination city. Ice cotton yud. Oh, we didn't do this yet. Now let's see the Ramah. Says the Ramah, Haggah. 3 lines off the bottom in the Shulchan Aruch, Haggah. V'yesh matirin afilu loy katzatz. There are those that are matir to give the letter to the Eino Yehudi letter carrier, even if he's not a kablan. V'afilu loy kaviyah beidar mamasa. And even if there's no permanent postal agent in the destination city, im mishalchay b'yom chamishi oy koydem lachein. So long as you commissioned the Eino Yehudi letter carrier on Thursday or earlier in the week. And if you have a pressing need, you could be saimech on this shita. Let's see the Mishnah Berurah. So we have those that disagree with the Mechaber. The Mechaber is very stringent over here. The Mechaber says, you commissioned this Eino Yehudi letter carrier not as a kablan. He's not a kablan. He's a regular schir yom. And there's no permanent postal agent in the destination city. You can't give him the letter even on Sunday. The Chavetz Chaim said, well, let's ease up on that a little bit. If you know it's a one-day journey and you hired him on Monday, that's okay. Now the Ramah says, there are those that are matir, even so long as you gave it to him on Thursday, he's not a kablan, and there's no permanent postal master in the destination city, but you gave it to him on Thursday or earlier. There are those that say that that's mutter. Why? Says the Mishnah Berurah, Tamayu, their rationale is, let's realize, certainly the Yisroel is not instructing the Eino Yehudi beferish to do the malacha on Shabbos. That's always aser, right? So he's not telling him to work on Shabbos. Ein lesser ki'im samach l'Shabbos. We can only make this aser close to Shabbos. Denire kishluchai shel Yisroel lazeh. We could only make this aser when the scenario is such that it looks like the Eino Yehudi letter carrier is the shliach of the Yisroel to do it on Shabbos. V'amir le'Eino Yehudi shvus afilu amaloi be'erev Shabbos lasos malacha b'Shabbos. We know that Amir la'akum is also b'drabanan, right? Amir la'akum. You're not allowed to tell an Eino Yehudi to do malacha for you on Shabbos. That's also on Shabbos. On Shabbos, you can't go to an Eino Yehudi and say, light a fire for me. It's also also on Erev Shabbos. On Erev Shabbos, you're not allowed to tell an Eino Yehudi, light a fire for me on Shabbos. But now you want to aser this letter carrier because of a concern of Amir la'akum. You want to aser it already on Thursday. Ava muflig min Shabbos ksas. Once it's at least somewhat removed from Shabbos, loy mechzi kaimer loy aseh malacha b'Shabbos. It's very hard to say that this looks like the Yisroel is asking the Eino Yehudi to do malacha for him on Shabbos. This is a Rosh who says that this would only be aser on Erev Shabbos. And the Ramah says that the Rosh is matir over here, afilu loy kaviyah, even if there is no postal agent permanently in the destination city. Realize how big this heter is. This heter, this Rosh's heter, is you're allowed to give the Eino Yehudi letter carrier, who's not a kablan, you're allowed to give him the letter on Thursday, even if he doesn't have enough time to arrive before Shabbos. Why? Because once it's Thursday, we can't aser it as Amir la'akum. We can't say on Thursday that's so far removed from Shabbos that now it's like you're making him a shliach to do malacha on Shabbos. It's too far removed from Shabbos. Okay? Thank you so much for joining me for limud HaTorah. The source of limud HaTorah should be banging against Klal Yisrael. The Ramah should said Yeshua's Refuas Parnasset Shadduchim Tol Need. We should be zeicher to see the BS Gal Tzedek B'Meher of Yameinu Amen. Be well.